Kuzuzampo, welcome to Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program with me, Sonam Pim. Our top stories this week. Schools across the country ready to reopen classes 10 and 12. Dzongkha Development Commission wants to institutionalize Dzongkha standard testing system. And Bhutan Football Federation looks at starting Bhutan Premier League from August. With the government announcing the decision to reopen schools for classes 10 and 12, schools across the country say they are all prepared with necessary safety measures in place. The safety measures include temperature scannings at entrances, implementing usage of masks, ensuring sufficient water supply and proper hand washing facilities, and enforcing physical distancing. Schools in the country remained closed for around 3 months due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
With less than just a week to reopen schools for classes 10 and 12, schools are ready to resume the academic session. According to the government, classes 10 and 12 will be resumed for critical reasons to go to higher levels where they have to choose their subject specialization and colleges. But students will need to follow new norms.
Water taps for washing hands and drinking purposes, wearing masks while entering the campus, separate entry and exit points, and reduced students in classrooms with distance seating arrangements are all ready.
The school has put in all safety measures in place. For instance, like school has set up 90 water taps for students to facilitate to wash their hands. And likewise, we have also other safety measures like when students report to the school at the entrance, we will carry out thermal scanning of all the students, the teachers.
We are ready with the required facilities to reopen school, resume school by 1st July. This is sky hydrant filtered water, safe for our children to drink and wash their hands. We have upgraded our toilets, set up in toilets with support from Bhutan Toilet Organization and SHND. We also have school agricultural products from our sap garden ready for the school mess.
The name the Kotonalu, the Dumdari Tun, the Loberso, Godam Jabodalu, the Chanjora Gopsi watching Snowbe.
As soon as the COVID-19 pandemic began, our teachers did not stay idle. We did a lot. We installed extra water taps, and right now, the Tromde is installing additional taps which are expected to be ready before the school reopens.
COVID-19 kongi lamlu di kadabi imaga de dilu chikagi di roche lap chuni tele ma da lokpana lewa jonigi kadabi onina di quality.
We are ready with the preparation of safety measures such as hand washing facilities and entry points. We are uploading videos on Facebook through which the students can know what to do and can be aware of new norms.
Upload video na maomengama tangye madam da do kadibe so duga juji ko ngemale ngasi na omne maomengama ko sini de khachebola.
Some of the schools will be implementing shift systems and different seating arrangements unlike before.
The gen class to many digi tengache khale tahana.
Since others don't have to come to school, we will use those empty classrooms as well and keep only 15 students in a classroom.
The school will run in 2 shifts. Morning shifts will begin at 8:15 and will go on until 12:30. and in the afternoon from 1:30 we will end at 5 p.m. In the afternoon session. So that way all students they will have full classes required for the curriculum, and we have decided also to maintain in the classroom not more than 20 students.
Usually 2 students share a table, but now because of the current situation, only 1 student will use 1 table, and each classroom will accommodate 15 students. In Lungten Zampa School, we have around 255 students in class 10, and with 15 students in each class, 17 classrooms are prepared.
According to the annual education statistics, there are around 150 middle and higher secondary schools in the country. With additional reporting from Bureaus, Tsingzam, BBS News.
UNICEF is calling on governments in South Asia to invest more towards social protection schemes for children. This comes amid threats the global pandemic is presenting to the hard-earned progress achieved so far in advancing children's rights in the region. Although the situation may not be as bad as it is elsewhere in the region, the report states that the pandemic affected children in Bhutan as well.
According to the UNICEF country office, more than 179,000 children in Bhutan are affected by COVID-19 forced school closures. Although the government rolled out e-learning and self-instructional materials to keep children engaged, UNICEF's report states some children still remain affected. The report released by UNICEF for South Asia mentions that while remote learning allows greater interaction between teacher and students, many households in rural areas do not have electricity or internet access. The report also highlights that children do not get the parental support that home learning depends on. The Sherry Counseling online platform set up to provide counseling and psychosocial support in response to COVID-19 pandemic recorded 259 children seeking psychological support to date. The report highlights the need for all governments in South Asia to take urgent action by instituting protection schemes for children, including the Emergency Universal Child Benefit Package.
Our analysis of 5 countries in South Asia shows us that it doesn't cost that much to have a universal child grant, which means any family that has children is supported by the government through something like a kiddo relief. So I congratulate Bhutan on having the kiddo relief, and I just urge that perhaps we can have a wider discussion on launching an emergency universal child grant to buffer the poorest throughout the country.
In other countries of the region, there are a number of other issues that children are exposed to because of the pandemic, such as food security and protection resulting from confined living environment. The report also calls on the governments to continue life-saving vaccinations, protect children against violence by keeping phone helplines open, and to ensure access to hand-washing facilities with soap and water in homes, schools, and health facilities. Pubgam for BBS News.
At a time when most parts of the country are enjoying high-speed mobile internet connectivity, some rural communities are still struggling for a reliable mobile network. Pangthang Chuok in Patsaling Gyeok in Sirang is one of them. It is located around 18 kilometers away from Damphu town towards Sarpang. The issue has particularly affected students attending e-learning these days. Ramesh Rai, a class 12 student studying in one of the private schools in Paro, has been dealing with poor mobile network. Lessons on Google Classrooms take time to open. He had incidences of not being able to submit assignments on time.
We have mobile network issues here. Forget about 3G. We have to bear with 2G network most of the time. With poor mobile network, it takes days to download files sent by our teachers through Google Classroom.
Ramesh visits places and friends' houses in search of better mobile networks several times. There are more than 30 students in the Chuok studying in various classes. According to the Thokpa, the Chuok raised the issue with concerned officers several times through the Gyeok Tsokde, but nothing has been done so far.
China the jitin mobile ki theka di the network ki theka tanam sam kang li se shitola thana tinga chira.
It is difficult even to contact people within the Chiok. We use social media apps like WeChat, Messenger and Telegram, but due to poor mobile network, we cannot operate. We receive only 2G and sometimes we get 3G. Moreover, houses located in deep valleys face tough time even to call.
Nale ya khatude as dazme basa network dele an nale as ma khatude as damizme.
The mobile network in Upper Pangthang is better, but in Lower Pangthang, only 2G is available. I don't know why. These days, students have to study online, and it is a problem for them.
Madi as G chamchi dazme ngachi yali imagine as H plus amchi dazme te ngachi as kangil as du salamnis.
Bhutan Telecom office in Damphu said they did not receive any complaint. However, the office agreed to visit the Chiok soon. They clarified that installing a network tower stands a slim chance due to less population and smartphone users. There are just about 400 people.
Pangthang Chiok is receiving mobile network from Dupi Tower, but since the tower lies behind the valley, it could not provide reliable network signal to the Chiok. However, we will look into the severity of the issue and we will work out for additional sector to the existing tower. Accordingly, we will try to propose budget in the 2021 fiscal year to provide better mobile network to the Chiok.
The Chiok also does not have a reliable Tashisel network. A team from Tashisel will also visit the Chiok in the coming weeks to assess the issue. But with class 12 students joining schools next month, things might get better for Ramesh. For Pema Saung in Sarang, Sunam Pem for BBS News. For any ordinary person, paving way through snow in the highlands may sound adventurous. But for those homebound, it is more of a daunting task. It is a test of patience and a journey described with struggles. And so unfolds the extraordinary story of Lunaps in Gasa, who, this time, made it back home after toiling for more than 2.5 months on the way.
Shovels became an essential tool this time as Lunaps started their journey home in April from the warmer pastures of Sepugyok. They literally dug their way through to Lunana. People said the snowfall experienced was unusually heavy to the extent that it covered all the trails. It was as thick as 5 feet. After struggling for months on the way, the first group with some 30 people and around 100 horses reached home recently. According to Lunana Gapkaka, normally people are home by the month of May.
About 8 to 9 horses are reported dead on the way due to starvation. Even people had a tough time as they ran out of ration during the prolonged journey.
Lunaps migrate southward as winter sets in because the grazing lands for their horses are covered in snow. But, Gapkaka said, with increasing number of horses that people own, finding pastures is becoming equally difficult. Locals are forced to return home with their horses, and at times when the path is covered with thick snow, the journey becomes more difficult tending the herd.
We used to keep our horses in Punaka until the farming season begins. After that, we take the herd to Pobjika and Kotoka in Wangdi because it is more spacious there. However, since it is in another Songkhak, certain problems arise with the people there. So at the moment, we are facing the problem of not having a proper place to keep our horses.
He said it would be grateful if Lunaps are allowed to keep their horses in Pobjika and Kotoka in Wangdipota until the route to return home is safer. For now, due to the snow, some people left their horses at Ramina, which falls within Lunana Gyok. In the meantime, more than 60 people with over 200 horses are on the way home, weathering the harsh conditions brought forth by the unusually heavy snow this time. For Changadoji in Wangduputta, Sonamongdi, BBS News.
The Dzongkha Development Commission plans to convince the government to institutionalize the Dzongkha Standard Testing System or DSTS. The system is expected to be one of the many ways to promote Dzongkha language. It is similar to International English Language Testing System or IELTS, which tests English language proficiency for non-native English language speakers.
Dzongkha Standard Testing System, or Dzongjuk in short, is a language assessment tool to assess 4 skills of speaking, writing, listening and reading Dzongkha. This is expected to promote a credible Dzongkha language standard testing system among institutions and organizations which need to carry out Dzongkha language test. For now, the Commission is in a phase to conduct a pilot trial in institutions. The Commission conducted a mock test for students of the Royal Institute of Management so far.
This may not necessarily replace or will be same to that of the existing Dzongkha exams in the school, different colleges and schools. What we feel is that this can be used in where there is an area you have to judge the competency of common people, no? Because in DSTs there is no certain there is no bar that you have to have certain degree qualification to appear DST. Anybody can appear and examine and then see your ability in Dzongkha. So that is the beauty.
After studying the existing system, he added that institutions like Royal Civil Service Commission and Election Commission can use the testing system. This common standard testing mechanism is expected to help maintain consistent Dzongkha standards and eliminate considerable duplication of work and expenses. Today, Dzongkha Development Commission expects the government to make the test mandatory during recruitment and elections. According to the Commission, Dzongjuk will be free of cost, unlike IELTS.
DGC actually plans to propose the high authority, the Commission, to take this forward and then to actually institutionalize DSTs as a system, so that this can replace other existing Dzongkha testing systems in the country. We feel that this is a very credible, holistic and inclusive system, and therefore this can have cost reduction for the government, and also it will be convenient for the test takers. No?
Will it be effective? He said it will now entirely depend on the government to institutionalize the system. Samtan Dolkar, BBS News.
With the decrease in the supply of vegetables from India due to the closure of border gates, selling local farm produce hasn't been a major problem for farmers of Nangkor in Pemagatsal. And following the recent announcement of reopening of schools, their hopes only remain further boosted. Besides selling their produce to local customers, Nangkor farmers sell most of their vegetables to schools in the district.
Since the closure of schools across the country due to the coronavirus pandemic, Shumar Vegetable Group has been trying to sell its produce to nearby people in the locality. Previously, the group used to sell all its produce directly to the Nangkor Central School. The reopening of schools in the village will help the group save time and avoid hardships involved in selling their produce to local customers.
Now, the schools can easily absorb all the vegetables which we have today, as we can sell in larger quantities in the schools. In the past, to meet the demand for vegetables, at times we also had to get vegetables from India. But this time, we cannot do that due to the closure of border gates.
When the schools are opened, most of the produce are easily taken by them. We are all very happy after hearing that the schools will be reopened soon. We can sell our produce to these schools, which is easier compared to selling it in the community.
Moreover, the Agriculture Extension Officer has also linked all the vegetable groups to various schools in the queue.
Especially for school linking program, we have signed agreement between supplier and buyer, and we have around 11 to 12 varieties of vegetables to be supplied to school, and for monitoring cases, like we go and see wherever their farmers they are, whether meeting their demand or not, whether they are importing from India or not. Then till now we don't have problem. The farmers are able to supply, and they are meeting the school demand also, and there is no problem as such marketing problem also, since we have around a few groups they are just linked with the school.
Similarly, the reopening of schools has also boosted the hopes of onion growers in the village. They are also anticipating growing onions on a larger scale from next year and making good income out of it. Today, there are 4 established vegetable groups in Shumargyok supplying their farm produce to the nearby boarding schools. For Teledoji in Pemagatsal, this is Pasang Doji for BBS News.
With the government easing certain restrictions put in place due to the coronavirus pandemic, the Bhutan Football Federation is hoping to start the much-anticipated Bhutan Premier League from August. The federation is waiting for a green signal from the government to go ahead with the league. Bhutan Premier League is the country's top domestic league, where 10 football clubs from 4 districts fight for the prestigious title for a duration of 5 months.
With the government easing its restriction from last week, including sports, many football enthusiasts have been wondering when the Bhutan Premier League will begin. As per the Bhutan Football Federation's schedule, BPL was supposed to begin from June.
So we are hoping if we can start by August, because we still have a time if we start by August. But it all solely depends on the government's decision to open up or not, because after they have opened the sports facilities, now we're waiting with the government to give us a green signal on the tournaments, which has been it's one of the top priority for us right now, because we need to go. We need to have this tournament going, because we have a lot of financial obligation at the stake, and also the clubs are struggling to survive.
Despite the government lifting the ban on all sports after nearly 3 months, it has however directed that no sports tournament will be allowed in the country. On the other hand, with many countries resuming their top domestic league following strict safety measures, various Bhutanese football club owners feel that Bhutan should also start their league as soon as possible.
As someone said, that football is the most important thing amongst the least important things. My view about starting the National Football League remains the same amidst the growing concern regarding the pandemic situation. However, having said that, I do not understand the logic why football tournaments, for the matter other tournaments, are not being allowed when the government has eased the restrictions and has allowed casual sporting events to take place.
The gadamchibe shungi naona, the national be the gutsubachin, the samchar juwachin, the gutsu di gutsura.
If the government allows BFF to start the Bhutan Premier League, I think it will be better and timely. Like many other countries, the international tournaments, the matches can be played in closed-door stadiums within the 2 teams.
Likewise, Paro FC, the defending champions of the competition, also shared similar thoughts. In a messenger chat with the president of the club, he was quoted saying,
"I guess the decision lies with the government. Personally, I feel there is no harm in starting the BPL from August as long as there are not many spectators. After all, the fight against virus is staying healthy. Moreover, BPL will be a good entertainment at such times when there is nothing else to do."
Meanwhile, the cancellation of all football tournaments in view of the global pandemic has severely impacted several of the football clubs and players in the country. Pursuing football as the only full-time career, many young players have even gone back home since the cancellation of all sporting activities in the country.
We were supposed to have the Gold Cup in Pinsuling, for which we had hired a flat. We had a vehicle on the duty, coach, manager, all the players were in Pinsuling. We had to feed them, train them, and for close to a month, and just a week prior to the commencement of the Gold Cup, the government announced that all activities had to be stopped, and as a result, all our investment went down the drain.
Transport United FC has been severely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. For this year's National League, we had availed a loan of 2 million from a private firm. With that amount, we have been giving salaries to players and managers, and also paying rents and for food for the team.
They also shared that club owners and management teams have already invested huge amounts of money in the transfer market, buying new players and hiring coaching staff. Likewise, a decent amount was also spent in procuring team kits. And without a green signal from the government, BFF also fears that Bhutan may lose its international spot in the upcoming Asian Football Confederation Cup to be held next year.
If there's no tournament, means there's no source of income for the clubs. It solely depends on the money that they get it from the tournament, like grants from the BFF and also the prize money. And also we lose 1 year of international tournament, which is the AFC Cup, where our club represents Bhutan. The champion of Bhutan represents in the AFC League. So if we don't have this league, I don't think we'll be able to play the AFC Cup next year.
In case the government allows BFF to go ahead with the league will only feature Bhutanese players. Unlike the previous editions, this year's league will not have international players. This is anticipated to help discover local talents and further develop football in the country. BFF also assured all hygiene and sanitation provisions are put in place. Besides following all safety measures related to COVID-19, the Federation says they will also ensure minimum attendance of teams and management with no spectators allowed in the stadium at all times. Moreover, like many other international federations, BFF is mandated to follow all the COVID-19 guidelines issued by FIFA. This is Pasang Doji for BBS News.
Well, that's all for this week. Thank you for joining us.